Why should America pay for the defense of Ukraine within Europe? And Russia's ambitions could extend into Poland, the Baltics, possibly even start menacing some other members of NATO. That's the only context in which we can understand what's going on in American politics. Kennedy was warning in 1963 about European free riding. And Western politicians, like your previous guest, are either lying to themselves or they're lying to their publics. They've spent what they believe to be the peace dividend, which has effectively been paid for by the Americans. The shipping lanes have been kept open, permitting global trade from which Europe has massively benefited, and it is the American fleet that has kept them open and deterred piracy. Europeans are living in a dream world, and that is a fundamental geopolitical fact of the age.
Now, President Zelensky said the money would save lives. But what about Europe? Isn't it up to the EU and Britain now to help stop Russia winning? Norway is one of the biggest contributors, taking into account it's a small country, but obviously it does share a border with Russia. The Norwegian Foreign Minister Espen Barth Eide spoke to us this morning.
We were, at least by last year, we were probably the highest per capita contributor. Now we're happy to see that other countries are coming our way, including our Nordic brothers and sisters, Denmark and Sweden and Finland. Others have now really stepped up as well. Not to speak about the Baltic countries, of course, small economies, but very large percentages. So we want to do much and we want to do more. So I don't want to speak for other countries, but I think as a collective, as all the countries that understand the importance of Ukraine prevailing here, we should all try to do more. And more is both a question of how much, but also about what. Because sometimes you can compensate lack of quality by quantity by quality. But of course, at the end of the day, Ukraine needs more of everything.
Matthew, you've written loads about this, including a piece last week. Are you surprised that it's gone so far down the agenda, especially in the US? I mean, this is a great triumph that they managed to get this through, but it's taken 6 months. It's 6 months late. And if Donald Trump becomes president, there's still a vast tranche of the Republican Party who think there should be no support for Ukraine at all. Are you surprised with where the global view, particularly the Western view of the war, has got to?
Yes and no. The problem isn't with the United States. I understand the Republican position. The problem is like the previous guest from Norway, who effectively, I don't want to accuse him of lying, but deceit. He is lying. Norway, if I remember correctly, I think was a founding member of NATO, was it not? And has, as it were, since 2006, been part of an implicit agreement to spend 2% of GDP on defence. I've just had a look quickly at what Norway has been spending on defence, and it looks like about a decade ago it was 1.5%. And then it has consistently failed to meet its obligations until relatively, I think it might just have got close to 2% recently. Why on earth should American taxpayers be, as it were, supporting paying for the defense of Europe when Europeans are effectively free riding on their military largesse? Why should America pay for the defense of Ukraine within Europe? And Russia's ambitions could extend into Poland, the Baltics, possibly even start menacing some other members of NATO. That's the only context in which we can understand what's going on in American politics. Kennedy was warning in 1963 about European free riding. And Western politicians, like your previous guest, are either lying to themselves or they're lying to their publics. They've spent what they believe to be the peace dividend, which has effectively been paid for by the Americans. The shipping lanes have been kept open, permitting global trade from which Europe has massively benefited, and it is the American fleet that has kept them open and deterred piracy. Europeans are living in a dream world, and that is a fundamental geopolitical fact of the age, of which Ukraine is one aspect.
And do you think, Jane, that's changing? Has there been a wake-up call? Or actually, I wonder whether we're going into the next election, maybe because everyone agrees in supporting Ukraine, at least speciously, everyone agrees with spending up to 2.5%, but no more than that. Maybe this isn't an active political debate in this country very much.
No, I mean, it doesn't feel like one at the moment, does it? There was an incredibly good but very depressing long read in Politico on Saturday, or at the end of last week, about the situation in Ukraine, and just saying that not only are they, very much in need of ammunitions and supplies and armaments, but also the fighting spirit required to win. Morale is apparently incredibly low. They say that, would-be recruits are dodging the draft and people have left the country, and that Putin is closer to winning than he has been sort of at many points over the last 2 years. And I think for whatever reason, we have definitely taken our eye off the ball, it feels like. And as you say, if Trump were to win in November, I think large parts of both houses, would want to cease all funding for Ukraine, and also, potentially, who knows what sort of deals Trump might attempt to strike with Putin. It's a terrifying prospect in the not too distant future.
We're not that far away from it, are we? I don't think that's a fair point.
No, more to come with Jane Mulkerrins and Matthew Syed. This is Times Radio Breakfast with Stig Abel and Asma Mir in association with Nationwide, a good way to bank.